recording here. So going ahead and sharing my screen this morning. Uh, okay, what am I going to do first? Show all the windows. Show me all the windows because I like all the windows. Okay, share this one. Your screen sharing is paused. Why is that? I don't want it to be paused. Let's see, resume share. I want that. Huh. Okay, share. Stop share. Okay. All right. Are we going to do this today? Are we going to do all of this stuff? So hit screen share. And where is the document that I want to share? Here it is. Share. How did I do that? Stop share. What have I done to my screen sharing, you guys? Okay. I'm going to try it one participant can share at a time and see what happens because, you know, it's all about me. Okay, resume share, stop share. For some reason, my screen sharing ability is quite limited today. Let me try another project and see what happens. How about this? Oh, there's a guy who is so handsome. He can't stand himself. I was outside this morning doing a bunch of selfies, trying to find a self-portrait that I could draw a picture of because I wanted us to try to do a portrait of ourselves today. And I talked a little bit last week about the golden hour of photography, either the first hour or two of light in the morning, like from about 7 till about 9 o'clock in the morning, or the last hours in the evening. Again, at this time of year, it's probably going to be around 4 to 5:30 or so, something like that. And I tried this in a couple of different ways. So here is a dashing, handsome person. Now, how did I become so dashing and handsome? You must ask yourselves. Well, and this is a selfie, so I'm holding one arm out there to take the picture. But a lot of it has to do with, of course, the angle that you're taking the picture at. Now, you guys, I'm assuming, have taken 100,000 selfies in your lifetime so that you kind of know these things. But, you know, if you take your selfie or any kind of a picture at certain angles, sometimes it's less flattering for you and sometimes it's more flattering for you. I'm going to go find one that's less flattering. In fact, I'm going to try. I thought I had my, oh, there they are. Okay. Let's do this one because it'll cut the crap. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get rid of this. Hopefully, go away, so I can get this about as big as I could possibly share it with you guys. Wow, okay, so this was the one we were just looking at here. Now, this one was actually taken out in the parking lot here at the college when I just got out of my vehicle, and the rest of these were taken in my backyard. Now, the two that are on the left-hand side of the screen here were taken somewhat in shadow. So the sun is coming up and the sun is bright in the background in the upper one here, but I was kind of behind the trees a little bit, and so I was getting a little bit more diffused sunlight on my face when I was taking these, as opposed to all of these over here on the right side, where I was in the bright sunlight during the golden hour. And so I'm just here to tell you that just because it's the golden hour doesn't mean that the sun is necessarily, or that the lighting is necessarily either flattering on your face or that it's good for photography. Because this way I was turned with my right side of my face to the east where the sun was hitting me. And these are terribly hot highlights on the right side of the face. I'm up against my house, so I'm getting some reflected light off of the siding off of the house. So I'm getting a little bit of reflection on this side. I also have a nasty scowl on my face, so I've got lots and lots of little worry lines and stuff on my forehead here. But I wanted to show you guys that sometimes a full frontal portrait is not necessarily the most flattering. And so we're going to come over here to what we call a 3/4 view portrait. And I hope you guys can see this. fact, I hope you guys can hear me. So anyway, the sunlight is still coming in on the right side of the face. It is still a super hot highlight on this side of the face. Too hot, really, to be of much good. And so we want to look at the shadows and the shadow shapes to see if they are flattering or not, because there is a particle or a small area of illumination on my nose, but there's a lot of shadow on my nose from the cheek, from the glasses, casting shadow on my nose. The tip of the nose is also not lit. However, I do want to point out this little bit of reflected light coming off the siding again on the outside edge of the nose to just talk about reflected light for a minute. There's also a bit of reflected light on this cheek over here. So reflected light is an interesting thing that we want to kind of keep in mind. However, this is not necessarily the softest lighting or the most flattering picture that I could take. Coming down to the bottom one, I flipped around going the other way. So now the left side of my face is illuminated and the right side is up against the siding of the house. For some reason, the lighting isn't quite as harsh in the highlight or lit portion of the face. I still have some reflected light on these edges of the right side of the face. Um, the overall lighting and angle of the head and everything else is a little bit more flattering. But if I was going to, compare this to what I've got over on the left side of the screen with these two portraits, these are a little bit more softer. The expression on the face is a little bit more softer or more engaging somewhat. And so, I might go with one of these. Now, my only problem with these is that I don't have a lot of shadow diversity on the face. Most of my hair, facial features are all going to be in a medium to medium high key range. The low key range of some of this stuff is going to be the blackness of the glasses frames, the blackness of the jacket that I'm wearing, some of the deep shadows in the vehicle that I'm standing against, and some of the medium to medium deep key values in the background. And here's where backgrounds are really super important, because not only is your portrait, the angle that you're taking and how flattering it is to you, and how harsh is the lighting or how soft is the lighting on your portrait, but backgrounds are super important as to whether they play a nice supporting role in the composition or whether they don't. And so as artists and designers, you always will also want to consider the negative space. You want to consider the background and see what kinds of patterns and values and shapes are happening in the background. Because let's take this one that's in the middle on the top row here. If this one, is not very flattering in terms of the lighting and the expression on the face and the camera angle and everything else, the background, the negative space, is not flattering either. We have very strange, severe shapes and edges and stuff. There's huge contrast between this overhang of the roof back here and all these shadows cast, and then this super hot highlight on the face. So when we're trying to put together a portrait, you want to consider the entire photograph. Now, I want to also tell you guys that I have cropped in quite a bit on these. I, imported these into my computer, and my computer right away said, do you want to crop these? Do you want to, work with them a little bit, as I opened them up as a photograph on the computer. So most of us anymore will have that option. Just as soon as you import a photograph, onto the computer, you can crop it down. So I was taking these raw selfies and cropping them down to where the head was fairly dominant in the composition, and trying to get less space between the top of the head and the top of the photograph than the space from the chin to the bottom of the photograph, to place the head in the upper half, or at least the eyes on that upper third line of the rule of thirds, where your eyes might be on one third and the chin might be on another third. And this gives you something that is a little bit more um, flattering for where the head fits into the composition. But you guys are going to have to kind of play with this. I took a dozen photographs in 3 different locations with 3 different lighting situations this morning to try to find something that was the most flattering lighting situation, the most flattering angle to take the photograph of, and perhaps the best background and overall photograph that I could to take that photograph. So you might have to, with your camera, play with this a little bit and try slightly different lighting situations, maybe even in slightly different locations, and try shooting different sides of your face. Because like the old joke from all of the TV and movies is, I have a good side and I have a bad side. And that's part of being a photographer, part of being a videographer, is trying to be able to see what is the flattering angle and the flattering lighting situation for you and for your face. Now, if you are like super sour about this whole project and want to show yourself in the worst light possible because you're trying to be once again um, someone who is at odds with this project and doesn't want to work and play well, then you can try to find absolutely the worst lighting situation and the worst camera angle for your face and take that one and develop that as a selfie, because that can also be a very valid self-portrait. So that's a possibility too. I'm going to stop sharing this thing for just a second, come back to you guys. Hello, is everybody still here? Can you guys still hear me? I hope so. Um, but I got ahead of myself because I gave you guys this value scale thing, but I gave you no um, demonstration whatsoever. And I saw that a couple, 3 people got the value scale done and have it turned in already. But that means that 10 do not. So let me do this value scale as kind of a demonstration project this morning and see what that works like. Suddenly I got very, like, I don't know, congested. So anyway, I'm going to change once again, and please let me know if you guys can't hear me, but I'm going to go to, let's see, which webcam is it? Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Hello, test, 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 1, 2. Okay, hopefully you guys are hearing me okay. I still have the chat box open, so if you can, let me know if you can hear me okay. This is that value scale project that we talked about last week about doing over the weekend. But let's just blast this bad boy out and see. On the value scale, I have the high key values on the left side over here, the low key values on the right side, middle gray in the middle. I can hear you just fine. Yay. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to play this game. Let's see. I'm going to do it with a pencil first. I'm going to try to make about as high key values as I can. So I'm as light as I possibly can be with my hatching marks over in the high key value area. I'm going to go to the low key value area and just see how dark I can make mark making with my pencil. And I'm going to do hatching, and then I'm even going to do cross hatching because I'm serious about this. I want this to be a super low key value that really reflects about the lowest, darkest thing that I can do with this pencil in that box. Okay, so there's my range to work with. High key, low key value. I'm going to try to do middle key, something that's in the middle, because with medium gray, I can always make it a little bit lighter with my pencil, or I can make it a little bit darker. And I didn't even know how hard to do this. So it's even a little darker in the middle. It's a little darker up in the corner than it is the rest of the way. But I'm just trying to find myself. Where am I in the idea of making values with this mark making tool here? So I'm going to now explore the values that I can make between these two. And again, I might take the square in the middle and see what happens. Can I make something that is halfway between one and the other? Well, that almost looks like that, so that's no good. I'm going to go to middle low key and see what I can do here in terms of mark making. And that looks really close to that. So I know that I'm going to have to be a little bit deeper than that here. And I might try it with some cross hatching and see what happens. I'm thinking that that still might not be dark enough, but I'm going to start playing the game here. I'm going to go in these intermediate boxes and see what I can do in terms of making something that is a little darker than the high key. And then I've got the middle key here, and I'm going to try something just a little bit darker than that here. And maybe just a little bit darker than that still. When I get to middle gray, I might just have to do something that goes the opposite direction to give me something that's going to be medium gray there, but maybe just a little bit darker. And again, we're stepping from one value to the next, trying to get them incrementally darker so that it's just like climbing the stairs. So that you're climbing the stairs or descending the stairs in this case. And I may just have to go just a little bit darker here. And then I'm going to start my last box right here. Notice that I don't necessarily have to stay inside the lines with my value making, but I'm trying to find a way to go incrementally from one to the next with increasingly darker values so that I can see the difference and I can see the changes happening. And I might just have to make this a little darker, and I might just have to make this a little darker. And these are starting to work out for me pretty nicely. And these are not bad. If I just do a little bit of this in here, I'm getting now the kind of incremental value change that I'm looking for. You know what? Anybody got any questions so far? I'm going to move this camera a lot further down so that you guys can see closer to my desktop here where I'm working, because why not? I might as well bring you guys down to the level of working on this stuff. You can hear me just fine. Okay. And, if that wasn't enough, why don't I even do it in pen? Pen, they say? Pen, he says. So that's about 1.5 inches. And so if I come down here another 1.5 inches to 3, I'm going to come down here. Yeah, about to 3. Why not? And let's see what happens if I just extend my boxes down and make 9 more boxes. How bad could it be? See if I can do this without making too much of a mess here in terms of smudging my line. But I'm going to do this. And how about if I do it from the other side so that I can move towards the left and not put my ruler into my wet ink? That would be a thing. Hope you guys got out and enjoyed some of this weekend. The weather was lovely outside. If you got to do some walks or running outside or just get out on the veranda and breathe the fresh air and feel the sun on your face, it was a beautiful weekend. A lot of people in Coos Bay were out and about. The roads were full of people. Okay, so I've got 9 more boxes. Let's try this with a pen this time and see what happens. Can we do a value scale in ink? So I'm going to try to make lines about as light as I can in ink to see what that's like. And again, I'm going to go down to the low end and I'm going to try to do hatching and probably cross hatching about as dense and as I possibly can. Now I'm actually doing this with hatching and cross hatching, and you don't have to, but I just wanted to demonstrate hatching and cross hatching for you guys so that you could see it as a technique. I'm going to go to medium gray and try to do something that's around medium or so with my mark making tool here. And then I'm going to go to the middles of each one of these and try to do something halfway between these two. And now I can't change this up much with an eraser because this ain't a pencil anymore. So we're actually making marks where we're kind of committing to this project because, we just are. So hatching and cross hatching. And then we're going to try to see how much deeper we can make, and if we can make incremental changes. And I might even have to go higher density cross hatching on the last one to take it down another notch or two on the value scale, maybe even going both ways, hatching and cross hatching. That gives me a little bit more breathing room here. See, if you just start to adjust your hatching and your cross hatching, you can pretty much get your incremental value changes going here. I'm going to do some hatching and cross hatching coming off of middle gray here. And we'll see what happens. Sometimes it's just, a change in texture. I shouldn't say that because it's not just change in texture. We can also actually see the change in value happening too. But, to get the definite changes going, let's see, this one needs a little bit more going this way. And now this one needs a little bit more going this way. And so you just have to keep trying to balance these things out until they start working for you. I got big problems right here because my middle gray just is about the same as this middle high gray. So I got problems here. I'm going to have to do this like that. I'm going to have to do a little bit of this like this. Trying to get incremental changes happening in the values. And I've never really done this before. I'm just kind of showing off for you guys, and it may be, a terrible, horrible mess. I might just be creating one kind of big hot mess here of values, but I was hoping that I could do this even in pen to really illustrate. But I'm gonna have to get this deep value so much deeper to make sure that I can get down far enough to a deep value on the end. But again, I'm trying to get nice incremental value changes from high key through the medium high key range, trying to find what middle gray works like for each one of our mark making tools, whether it's graphite pencil or a pen, getting into the middle low key range and still being able to discern value changes. This is the hardest place because these four of them really want to look the same or similar. And so trying to find incremental value changes among these four is a good trick. It's the challenge to try to get your incremental value changes happening here. If you've already done this project, I'd like you to maybe go back and revisit it now that you've seen this demonstration. I've recorded the demo, so it's going to be up, and there'll be a YouTube video link to it so that you can, if you need to, do this a little bit more. You are not required to do two versions of this, one in ink and one in graphite. If you're interested in showing off, you can, but you don't have to. I'm really just interested in people trying the value scale just to try this out. Now, here's the deal. I asked you guys to make a template at the beginning of the quarter, and that was going to be a studio tool that we were going to use for all of our projects, or many of our projects. This value scale is going to be a studio tool that we're going to have next to our drawing so that we can check our drawing as we're doing our selfie, as we're doing our self-portrait or our portrait of our significant other, to see whether we are getting the whole range of values applied in the drawing. So eventually what I'm going to want you guys to be able to do is create that self-portrait and hopefully get it printed out someplace so you have a black and white version of it on paper, on 8.5 by 11 paper of your self-portrait. I'm going to want you to have this thing, this value scale, completed and also on your desktop next to you while you're drawing. And then I want you to have your drawing on the desktop too. So you have the three things: the photograph, the drawing in progress, and the value scale as three things that you're constantly referring back and forth to as you're drawing. We're going to want to try to copy or translate the values in the photograph, in the black and white photograph, into your drawing. And we're going to want to check the values on the value scale to make sure that we've got a range of values going in the drawing, so that the drawing doesn't get too dark or too light. But just like it's the Goldilocks principle: not too hot, not too cold, just right. Not too soft, not too hard, but just right. We use the Goldilocks principle, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. We use the Goldilocks principle all the time in design, trying to check things against the extremes to make sure that it's landing just right for the viewer or for the client as we're trying to create the design for them. And so this is going to be kind of an interesting thing, because this is going to be down and dirty. For many of you, your first drawing ever, but this is going to be kind of a drawing project where we're going to use values and a value scale to create a value study of our portrait. And it's going to either be our self-portrait or a portrait of one of our significant others. So I'm going to change screens again, coming back to you. Ha! There we are. Here's my bird's eye view camera hanging down right on my forehead here. I'm checking the clock, and it's about a half hour that we've been doing some serious sharing so far. So I wanted to see how you guys felt about this so far. I'd like you to try, everybody, to finish your value scale sometime today. The first due date was this evening at midnight. The second drop dead deadline is Wednesday at midnight to get this thing done and uploaded for grade. And then we are going to pivot from this into doing a self-portrait or a portrait. And so I wanted to show you guys the idea of taking selfies. I did them outdoors. I did them during the golden hour of light between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning. And I did them both in the shadows and in the direct sunlight to try to give you a sense of the difference in the quality of light and the harshness of light that happens when you're dealing with portraiture. I try to get some kind of a general and yet pleasing light happening on my mug, my face, so that I can broadcast to you guys and have a relatively authoritative and as attractive as it can be face that I can get out there. And there are hot spots in this image. I can see, there they are. I can see the hot spots reflecting back off of my whiteboard back here. So there's absolutely too much light in areas of this composition. I can see hot spots reflecting off of my little bald dome here. But generally, I'm trying to give you as good and pleasing a lighting situation with shadows and a good variety of values happening in this image. And we want to take that and build on that then for our self-portrait project that we're going to do. That's all I've got. I wasn't going to do anything in the book today. I wasn't going to do any more talking about values. I'd like you to continue to read chapter 6 on value, because that's the assigned chapter that we're studying. There will be a quiz at the end of the quarter. It's just going to be on the second set of chapters. So we're going to be quizzing on chapters on shape, value, and texture, chapters 4, 5, and 6 at the end of the quarter. So I do want you to be familiar with the content in those chapters. So between now and Wednesday, please get this value scale all finished up for the project, for this piece of the project. This is worth 10 points. And then we're going to do the actual portrait drawing, which is going to take us at least a week and a half. I'm going to show you techniques on how to do that along the way, starting on Wednesday. And that's going to be at least a 20-point project. God, I might even make it a 30-point project because I'm serious about it. I'd like you guys to put some time into it and be serious about it too. So I'm going to quit for now, and I will see you guys again on Wednesday. If you have any questions, you can hang out for a little while after the end of this meeting and ask me the questions, or email me, or text me any of your questions. For now, I want to say thank you and goodbye, and we'll see you next time.